All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Jorge's Isolation Podcast. I hope everybody is doing well. Texas has survived a winter storm, kind of, and we're about to go into some crazy territory in the next week without any masks and 100% capacity. But before then, I have an amazing guest on today. I have Tanya Saracho. She is an amazing writer, showrunner, creator, human being, and she leads a very amazing life, I think. Tanya, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I love that. I just a cat lady right now that is also in isolation in LA, and that's an amazing life. My life is like just sitting there with my cats. I mean, trying to get some work done, but how are you going to start with that note about Texas and not I have to address what a murderous moron. I'm sorry if you're listening. This man, all my family is still in McAllen, right? Yeah. All my and Sherryland, and I'm so scared for them. Did this guy not understand that the P1 variant is out there? That is complete. Like you can have had COVID and still get it. You can have the vaccine and still get it. He's killing it. He's gonna kill us.
Yeah. So my wife, daughter, and we moved back December of 2019. Just because just some family health issues, and just to provide a better life for our daughter, and we're gonna have a little boy, and thank you. Yeah, due in at the end of May, and everything was great leading up to March 13th of last year. Everything was awesome. I got agents here in Austin. I was going out for stuff, and then boom, the lockdowns, and the shutdown, and that was expected. And 2 weeks turned into 4 months and 5 months. And then, by May, what's his name? Abbott decided, we're going to open up in phases. And the phases were contingent upon the cases not going up. So he was very, very clear. He's like, we're not going to open up. If these cases keep going up, we're not going to open up. So give us 2 weeks, and then we'll go into phase 2, and then, whatever. The cases kept going up, and he's like, you know what, let's just open up anyway. And then the cases kept going up again. Let's just go up again and again. And they opened up, and then we got pummeled here in McAllen by COVID. And it was just to a point where DHR, the hospital here, was just overwhelmed. And they had to build an extra wing, and they had to get the refrigerated trucks. You know how hot it is in the summer. This was in July in the Valley. So to get all that done. And this guy is blaming everyone but himself.
Oh, no. Right now, today, he's blaming immigrants, migrants. That's today.
Yeah.
It's so... Morons are not okay anymore because they're costing lives. They're costing lives. It's no longer what did President Biden call them yesterday? Neanderthals. He called them Neanderthals. It's like a synonym for idiots. But it no longer okay.
No, it's not. And what are they opening up for? Is it because people want their freedom, or because spring break is in a week and we need the money in South Padre?
Yeah, he's thinking of only of money, of the economy, not people's health. It's so disgusting. It's
crazy.
I just came back from London. I was there 5 months, and people would ask me they would ask, especially because it was during an election that I was over there. They would ask me these and from that distance, from far away, from how it's so they would ask me to explain Trump or to explain whatever decisions that were, and I was like, I have no explanation anymore for how we live in the United States. Some of these things are it completely not following the science. But not that this state or this governor ever was, but now I feel like the word murderer could be put next to his name.
Yeah. And even the hero in New York, Cuomo is getting pummeled right now too, because he was hiding numbers. It's just who's out there to help us? Who's representing us for real? It's nuts. on either side. Like I don't know who I can say, you know what, I put my faith in this party or that party, and I don't.
The whole world
Yeah.
dealt with this, the like ass backwards, and it showed all the barnacles and all the pimples and all the like flaws of the world, you know. I was just over there, like I said, and Boris Johnson, whatever, the Tories, whatever I learned, it was like, oh my God, this country is fucked up. And then, but I look back and I'm like, this, and then my country's fucked up. I'm not, it's un desmadre. Like I can, like all the countries I'm related to, I'm like, not like, there's not a lot of world leaders that, that this right. And it costs, I feel like it costs lives. It's no longer about like, you know, hazy subjects that get like discussed. It's like actual lives. I know I keep saying it, but it is, you know.
Yeah, 500,000 lives, like climbing and climbing.
And worldwide is like,
worldwide. It's so crazy. But amid that craziness, you were in London, you said, for 5 months. That has got to be an awesome, you know, it has to be an awesome experience, or like an awesome in a weird way, because it was happening during a pandemic too. Because you already had this trip planned before pandemic, right? No. Okay. I thought you did.
No, man. I was like, it was so 6 months into the pandemic. This is 6 months in. And the last 2 months, because I planned it 2 months before I left. I started. I live in LA right now. And there's a lot of back then. So let's see. Let me put it, contextualize it. It was June is when the uprising happened, and what I'm calling the uprising is like when LA burst into protest, as it should have, you know. And I live in an area where the protests were crossing me, a lot of them, you know, but also the reaction from authorities, which like super like helicopters and back, like just their reaction, not cute, you know. And it felt really unsafe here, but like not like socially unsafe, not just like criminally unsafe, like somebody's gonna come, like it didn't feel good, you know. There were like fever pitch about the election, then COVID too. We didn't know enough about COVID. Like we were like, there were so many things like don't touch your groceries and don't like we were still learning about it and just scared. I never turned off CNN, so I was in a dark place. I couldn't build anything, meaning I couldn't create, I couldn't write, I couldn't, and I was just, I wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't like really see friends. Just I started making friends with these squirrels in my backyard because I was like, it was crazy. And what I also, I was listening to a lot of music, which that I don't listen to this much music as I was listening to during the pandemic. But what happened is that I started listening, and this is so crazy. It's like the whitest of the white is this British folk music. I started listening to Johnny Flynn. And I just came upon it, you know, but like for 2 months, like crazy. And then it engendered an idea. And then I wouldn't stop talking about it to my friends, you know, FaceTime, because I would FaceTime everybody back then, you know. And I wouldn't stop talking about it. And finally my casting director friend, Carmen Cuba, because I was like, oh my God, I just want to like, I want like someone like Johnny Flynn, someone like him to like tell me about this world. Like how do I find someone like Johnny Flynn? And then I want someone like Johnny Flynn, because he's also an actor, to play that, like to play a like a British folk musician. And she was like, why don't you just sit down with Johnny Flynn? How am I gonna wait? He don't know me, you know? And she was like, let's do a general and sit down with Johnny Flynn and ask him. Really? Okay, so I did. And this guy, this freaking angel was like, didn't know me from Eve. I didn't really have a pitch. This is what I said. I was like, I want to do something and, you know, go to London and right now during a pandemic. He was like, okay. He had just met me on Zoom, you know, he was in France. Like, he was like, because they had opened up London. That's another thing. I kept seeing that London was like, people were out doing picnics, and here we were super locked down, you know, and the uprising was happening. So I was like, God, that looks like utopia. I want to go over there and just breathe. And there were no helicopters. Like, I was like that. And then I was like, I'm thinking of going to London. He was like, yeah, you should come to Hackney. What the heck is Hackney? You know, you should come to Hackney, to Laura Clapton. And, you know, like you should come and see the world, like see this world because apparently in East London, that's where like all these musicians and, you know, live and stuff.
It's like the West Village of London.
It's well, so like if I understand it correctly, Hackney is kind of like Brooklyn, and like I don't know. Lower Clapton, maybe it's like Fort Greene or something. Like it's like
okay,
you know, that kind of thing. But somebody could correct me, but that's how I understood it, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I ended up over there because he like basically he sent me, I live here. And then he showed me his address and I was like, okay, off this address, I look at an Airbnb just because I have no idea where am I going to land, you know?
Yeah.
He was the one who provided any guidance. And sure enough, you know, I lived in Lower Clapton, like a few blocks from him. We started working together. At first it was like walks. And then like we, when I got there, it was tier 2. So we could go inside and have meals or coffee. And then the tiers started getting worse and worse. And then it was like less and less things. And then we were working together in the studio. And I came back with a finished pilot, you know, basically about a Mexican in London who falls in love with a British woman. Yeah. So I went, but the thing is, I really wanted to leave to escape the fuckery that was happening here. You know, like that's really, but I had this idea and it was like, and then this guy said yes. And then he introduced me to his band, because he's like a really, you know, amazing folk musician, band, his manager, the head of his label. So even though I couldn't go to gigs, look, this poster that I'm showing you, that's the gig that never was, he organized a gig that he said, I organized this concert so that you have a concert while you're here to see. And then they canceled us. So I never got to see it, but I have the poster of it. He gave me the poster. Whoa, sorry.
Whoa, that's fine.
Everyone, that my iPad fell. That's what that was. It was not a gunshot. It was not a gunshot. But anyway, so it was a magical, and it saved my sanity because I was over there and without a car, and I had to walk everywhere. And we have these amazing parks, Hyde Park, Hampstead Heath, and then I was close to Victoria Park, the Hackney Marshes, and I've never walked so much, and it was gorgeous. I mean, it was raining all the time, but I loved it. It saved my life. Those 5 months in London saved my life because now I'm back here and I'm caged again in this. Yeah. You know?
I do. I can relate totally about feeling caged because I mean, I'm here. First of all, I'm not in New York or LA. I was in New York and I was surrounded by artists and all my friends in the industry over there. And then moving over here was just one thing is that, you know, there are artists down here in the Valley in McAllen, but it's not the same in that sense where I don't know. It's hard to explain where like it's still just missing something. So I'm feeling like how you're saying, like caged a little bit, where like every day's like Groundhog Day. I wake my daughter up, get her dressed. We go for a walk around the neighborhood, which is a beautiful thing that we wouldn't be able to have done in New York all year because everyone's always walking. So no one walks in the Valley, obviously. Right. But I do have to say, like during this quarantine, this whole year, cycling became a huge thing in the Valley.
My sister, got a bicycle. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah,
it's the big business down here right now is like bicycles. Like everybody bought bicycles during the pandemic, which I guess is kind of good for Valley Fitness. And you know, that's just one of the things that I'm dealing with. Like especially in the last week, I was just feeling so creatively just numb. I didn't know what's going on, and like I think I kind of hit like this little spurt over the last weekend. But I get it. I totally understand that, you know, sometimes you need that escape. And the other thing I was going to say is that I met you a few years ago, maybe 2015, 2014, with Raul. Right. And he was there at Raul Castillo, for all y'all that are listening or watching. You were visiting New York at the time, and we had dinner at I think Southern Hospitality. I remember that.
Yeah. I remember that too, in a Hell's Kitchen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And did you ever think that at that point in life back then that you and Raul would be where you all are right now? Because it was just like, you know, everything just kind of snowballed now that you can say like, hey, I want to meet Johnny Flynn. And, you know, people can say like, yeah, you can do that now. You have that ability to do that now. You know, like if I wanted to meet somebody, I mean, I have to go through like, you know, I don't know, a bunch of no's. You know what I mean?
I
So it's
mean, I
gonna
still
feel cool.
have a bunch of no's, but they're different no's, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know. I don't know. Even I just right before
Yeah.
I signed on, and when I was like eating something real quick,
Mhm.
I was talking to Raul too, giving him a report of like, this is what's happening with you, all the time we talk. But
Yeah.
I don't think we look at stuff, and I'm gonna answer for him too. I don't think we look at stuff like that. We have like dreams, but
Yeah.
there's not dreams to accomplish. Um, like for me, there's storytelling and access
Yeah.
dreams, right? I want to be able to tell my stories and have access
Yeah.
to uh to 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 methods of storytelling that I, when I was doing stuff in a 40-seat theater, where
Mhm.
that's what I had access to, but I never think about like the actual detail like this, like, oh, I can just, because one of my besties is Carmen Cua, who's like one of the top freaking casting directors in
Yeah.
Hollywood. But she did Vida, a show that
Mhm.
and the fact that I say a show that I created, that I got it, all that never,
Yeah.
because it all kind of happened, and I don't want to say accidentally, but I do want to say that it happened. Now, I was ready, meaning
Mhm.
with a yes and, like, so like whenever people would I had samples and whatever that I had written enough in the theater that it was like, okay, she can tell stories, not because she tells
Mhm.
stories in this, but I also had run a theater company
Yeah.
for years, and then that's, doing a show on TV is kind of like running a theater company, except with millions and millions of dollars,
Yeah.
uh, so there's like a way that I didn't know that I had been training for this, but like when I was making theater,
Yeah.
I never thought I was gonna be a showrunner, and
Yeah.
now have a deal with with UCP, and be building a slate of shows that I'm gonna
Yeah.
produce and not play, right. Like, so I didn't know that that was a possibility for me,
Mhm.
but I just want to, like, the dream was always, I want to have access and to tell stories.
Yeah.
So in a way, in a macro, yes, but like that was the dream, but I didn't think it could really happen, because like the theater, and this is why I divorced her. I had to divorce the
Yeah.
theater. It remains the same theater I entered 20 years before. It remains,
Yeah.
very, you know, um, it's not that as inclusive as it thinks it is, So
Yeah.
I thought this thing, TV, is going to be less
Mhm.
inclusive, but it turns out that it might not be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like right now, I think I can get a TV show greenlit easier than I can get a play produced.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Well, right now there's no theater, but because
There's no theater, but that's amazing though that you have that platform to tell the stories that you want to tell.
yeah,
Coming from
I
McAllen,
mean, yeah,
Texas.
I know. And
Like who would have thought? I think that's what I think of is that, you know, growing up, so many people, and I don't know if you can relate, but we know a lot of people from the valley that all we could say was like, man, I want to get out of the valley. The valley sucks, like, there's nothing going on in the valley. But as I can, continue on in this career that I'm in, and seeing the people from the valley doing what they're doing, and as many of us are out there doing things, like it blows my mind how much talent is coming from the valley, and there's just a bunch of people too that we don't even know about that are coming up.
right.
There's just like it's so crazy, it's like from McAllen, you and Raul, and you have the PSGA crew, Michael Reyes, Camilla Mando,
Man,
David Barrera, and like like there's so many people, and then there's just like a lot of others that I didn't even realize were out there, you
it
know
makes, so the
yeah.
thing that is sad is that there are no outlets. It's what you've been saying. Shut up.
Mhm.
Is that a Whataburger?
It's a
Um,
Whataburger Yeti. Yeah.
Shut up. I would like some Whataburger right now.
I
Oh,
do have to say, since they sold, it isn't the same.
really?
Yeah, I mean, it tastes,
When did they
you know,
sell it? I haven't been
about
back in
2 years ago. I think 2 or 3 years ago, they sold to a company in Chicago. And when people were telling me that the service is kind of different now, it's not as good as it used to be. They mess up orders left and right. The burgers do taste kind of the same, but it's just not the same. There's something you can taste is different. You
Don't
know,
tell me that. What about El Pato? Do they still?
they're still the same.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah.
whenever I go home, there's either of those two. It's like I get off the plane, I meet my mom, and then we either go to Whataburger
Mm-hmm.
or El Pato straight, like before
Yeah.
arriving, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my God, El Pato, los patos de like, wait, avocado, chicken and cheese. We used to go back when I went to Mac High,
Yeah.
and I used to be in journalism, yearbook and newspaper, and Mr. Villa used to let us go off campus to get the and then bring them back patos. So like it was such like por eso estoy tan gordita, because like from then, like
Yeah.
and it stopped. Oh my God. Sorry. I just got so
No, I think
yeah,
I put on about 20 pounds since moving back, like easily.
I would too. Just but
And it's not expensive.
I know, but also it's the lichos,
Yeah.
and the lichos. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, what else do I want to eat? Raul's favorite is Taqueria Rios.
Yeah.
He
There in
loves that.
Edinburgh.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
yeah. My mom was sort of on border with Edinburgh. So funny,
Yeah.
Edinburgh. I was about to say Edinburgh because
Edinburgh.
I just came back.
Yeah.
I spent 3 weeks in Edinburgh,
Edinburgh.
and then I had to train myself to stop saying Edinburgh. Edinburgh. No,
Or
it's called.
Edinburgh, as
It's
they say
not
down here.
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
No, it's Edinburgh. Edinburgh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so crazy. I try to explain to people the Rio Grande Valley, where the most was it 3 or 4 cities are Scottish.
Yeah, yeah.
Edinburgh, McAllen,
McAllen,
Far.
yeah. It's far. I don't even know what
Yeah,
far.
I think it is PHARR. And then you have Mission, which is simple. They named it after a mission. It's like, what are we going to name the city? Let's just
Well, that's a
Mission.
colonized. No, but like, look at those colonized, like those like oppressive colonizing names. Matamoros.
Matam. Yeah.
Mission. I
Yeah.
mean, it is that. It's like, wait, I wanted to find out what far. The etymology of far.
Yeah.
Like,
I might be
etymology.
wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not trying to like put you on blast, but
I'm going to be canceled. They're just going to say this guy's a hack.
No way.
I'm going to be blacklisted in Hollywood.
If Anglo-Saxon origin, it's because I used to have a teacher named John Farr, rest in peace, and his name was Farr.
Yeah.
But this, I was always like, I wonder if it's the same thing, but it's Anglo-Saxon. Anglo-Saxon, which is
funny that you say Anglo-Saxon is that in the Valley, people still refer to white people as Anglos.
I know.
It's awesome.
Like, a lot of Latinas do, a lot of, and I'm using the E now, not the X, Latinx, Latine, as we're, Latina, Cane, Muchache. So that the E is now the gender inclusive term. It's easier to say. It's the same thing as Latinx. Yeah. It's easier to say. So now we're switching over just so we all know. Here, I'm giving the little note. I'm sure I'm going to get a from it because only 3% of us use Latinx anyway. But
and maybe like 3 people listen to this podcast, so we won't get a lot of shit right now.
They're gonna be like, what? No,
there's like the 3 people. I'm just gonna see like my 3 downloads every month just go from 3 to like 1. It's my dad.
Fuck that Latinx shit. No, but it's like if you are gender inclusive and think that non-binary people should be included in that term, then you basically, if you're not a Neanderthal, like will use the term Latina.
Yeah, I like that better. I didn't like the Latinx. It sounded just like I don't know. It sounded like more like a fantastical, character.
It was born from a paper in Puerto Rico in 2005. Like it was a paper, like somebody wrote a dissertation, and they put Latinx just to make like the point that no gender. I get it. I I like it, except when we started like conjugating it and just putting it out in the world, it was really hard to be like, is it Latinx or Latinx? I chose Latinx. Nobody told us how we were gonna pronounce it.
Exactly.
But Latine makes sense. And right now, you say amigues, you say chiques, muchaches, so like you can utilize. You'll see. I feel like in the next 10 years we're gonna
keep that makes more sense than the Latinx. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was always wondering because I was in New York when I first started hearing that, and it caught like wildfire. Like once it was out, it was out.
Theater, right? Because
Yeah.
it usually this is what it follows. It's it's academia. All the shit is
Mm-hmm.
born, terminology is born academia first. People write papers about it first. Then the theater and the arts sort of
Mm-hmm.
adopt it. Because
Yeah.
I started in Latinx 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
15, however long it was, like sort of like a few years after it started,
Yeah.
when I was in panels, I started hearing it and same thing like when BIPOC was born
Mm-hmm.
this year, 2020.
Yeah.
Then we all adopted BIPOC and now we're saying BIPOC, but
Mm-hmm.
like so and then the general culture, and I know when I got to like the general culture starts to adopt it, it's when the press starts using Latinx, that's when
Yeah.
it starts having it. So it's sort of that's what it follows.
Yeah.
When I 4 years ago when we were doing the conversations about Vida, the marketing,
Yeah.
I sat down with Starz and I was like, so we are going to refer to ourselves as Latinx. We have a trans actor, a non-binary trans actor on the show. We have to use the term Latinx, because we're not all female and we're not all male on the cat.
Yeah.
And then there's behind the scenes, there's trans people in the crew. So like, it was like, we have to embrace it. And then it just like, I'm so glad because like Starz just totally embraced it, even though we're like,
Yes.
what say? So I love it. I love that like now it's because it's it's inclusive. But just many Latino diehards that are like, what is that? Yeah, I get taken to task on Twitter all the time for it, but
and people are always going to have their opinions about whatever belief that they have, as long as you stay true to yourself and keep doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is really awesome and it's very unheard of, from down here. You know what I mean? Like and just talking about Starz actually working with you, how common is that? For this was your first time show running,
I know,
right? And creating it. You got to decide everything, right?
Yeah.
And how common is that
for like whoever's listening, the three people? It's first of all, I had only been in Hollywood with a capital H 3 years. Just I'm still learning to write TV according to me, but not learning to tell stories, because that I came with that from the theater, from Chicago, which is where I spent 16 years in Chicago, which a city that I absolutely love. But there's a lot of people, in fact, a lot of people that work for me, friends that are, that have been still struggling, still don't have a show. So that earlier on I said, I don't want to use the word accident, because it's all like, an auspicious happenstance, like it just happened. But you do have to be ready with a yes and, meaning the ability and the willingness, but when Starz came to me to see if I could write Vida. So I didn't have to pitch it. So that, already that is like ganancia.
So they had the idea or the concept.
They said, we want a show about gentrification. That's another term that people are like, nah. It's gentrification of a Latinx space by an upwardly mobile Latinx. So like, for example, if I came back home and I opened up a bunch of like bullshit taquerias that are like jackfruit taqueria, and like tofu.
In La Paloma.
Yeah, like that, and fucked it up,
Yeah.
But also, do I have the right? It is my home. So it's like, that's the question. It's like, you're going to mess it up, but are you going to make it better? And now we're going to have jackfruit tacos. Like, is that? Anyway, so they wanted that gentrification and young women, millennial women in East LA, which I'm not from. I'm not from East LA, right? Okay. Well, from Boyle Heights, which is next to East. And I said, yes, and then I wrote this thing. And then because you have to there were 6 Latinx shows that they were developing at Starz, and then there were 4, and then there were 2, and then there was 1, Vida. And like we just basically, I just kept, without a design, like without really thinking, shit, I could really run this. Because usually what happens in this industry, they give you a babysitter. That's like the term that we use. They give a first-time creator, or a creator that's never run a show, they give you usually an older white man or just a white man to be like, look, this guy's done it. He's your babysitter. And then he kind of makes the decisions. Usually that's, I mean, if you look at, that's what's happened. If you look at other,
I believe it.
And I had this amazing executive at Starz named, and this is the key, Marta Fernandez. That's it. That's the key right there. That meant that she protected me and championed me and made sure I didn't have a babysitter. And here I am, because like she let me make all those decisions that when we are allowed to make those decisions, you'll make, like all Latinx writers room, all Latinx directors, like all female department heads, like stuff that like it's funny because like when it first happened, everyone was like, it's so radical or it's so revolutionary. I'm like, it just makes fucking sense, you know?
Yeah.
But now, you know, I guess, but it's great that now it's other shows are doing that. Not, I don't think because of Vida, I think it's of the moment, like we're all like I went in when I was gonna fight for give me an all Latinx writers room. I went in saying Atlanta has an all Black writers room. Why can't you give us that? You know, and excuse me. It worked, but because of the work that Marta had done, I didn't need to fight for it so hard.
That's
she had already done it, you know? No,
Yeah.
all blessings. Like it's all a lot of luck, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah.
Oh my God, coronavirus, espérame.
Oh no, coronavirus. I find that very fascinating because that was a lot of the questions that I had. Just because, like, you know, when I found out you're developing a show, I have a couple of questions about developing the show and stuff surrounding you developing the show. But that was one of the things, is how did it come to be, first of all? And you know, I don't know if you've had other people from the Valley ask, like, how come you didn't write about the Valley? Or is that down the line? Was one of those things?
Well, people who didn't know my work saw that every play that I wrote was
It was
always
about the
about.
Valley. Yeah.
So like, and this was an assignment.
Yeah.
I got shit from the community, from Boyle Heights, being like, you're not from Boyle Heights. There you write about Boyle Heights. And you know what? In a way, they're right. Because they you know, they've handled the media, and Hollywood has handled them wrong. Like they always make it look all like gang infested and ugly.
Yes.
It's always, you know, so I understand their apprehension. I'm not a home girl, like meaning I'm not a neighborhood girl, like that grew up born there. So I get it. I was writing about the border. You read all my plays, and then I started writing about Chicago because I felt like an adopted daughter of Chicago. But like, you know, when Marta asked me, you know, can you write about East LA? And I was like, yes, I said right away. But then I realized what that meant, and I don't think I would have said no again, but like if asked again. But I did hold on to those cultural truths we have that joined us together, you know. But I had to hire a writer's room that had people from the area because the slang is different. I mean, I also hired
different
Texans. I hired Valmarado, whom I used to, like, I knew from PSJA. We used to like, because he's older than me, but he was like a senior and I was like a freshman. And I used to go see him. I saw him and Michael and Gabe Rosas and in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. And like, I mean, like that's like back in the day, PSJ, you know what I mean? Like I know, but so then I hired him because Raul kept me in touch with Mando when you guys were in New York doing theater. And then when he moved out there to do TV, he was like, actually, he moved out here first before me. But I
actually took over, like when him and Serena were moving.
His apartment.
What I stayed at his apartment because they were leaving, and it was awful. And I still feel so bad to this day because what happened was their landlord started getting really greedy when he knew that they had left. So he started playing like this, you know, we're going to raise the rent by $600 in a week situation. And Mondo had to fly. And yeah, it was a huge mess. And, you know, that apartment, they were planning on saving it so they can go, you know, back and forth because Serena had it for like 9 years. Yeah. And it was me and another Valley girl that were living there. And this landlord just started like bullying us around, and we didn't know what to do. And we're, you know, telling Mondo and Serena what was happening, and Mondo had to fly out and just get like some personal belongings because they didn't give us enough time for like us to really pack and find another place. And
Jeez,
then
that
for
legal.
Mando to fly out and just get like, very personal belongings and then go back. Like they had to leave beds, furniture and stuff like that. And I felt so bad. Yeah. But yeah,
That's terrible.
it
I've
is
stayed.
awful. But that's Williamsburg, Brooklyn
Yeah. Well,
for
yeah.
you.
They're gonna get even those little train. What do you call them? Trains, track, whatever. Even though the apartments are like
The
shit,
railroad. Yeah.
railroad. Okay, so I have
Yeah.
like train tracks, what railroad. Even the apartments are shit. Like you take it because New York is like spaces at a premium.
Yeah.
I liked London because
Yeah.
it's like it's bigger than New York, but because it's so old, it's figured itself out. I mean, there's still shitty places, obviously, but like where I was, I'm like, I was in una casita, like I ended up in this casita that was really cute, and I was like, and with a little garden, sure, there was a fox that would come and like whatever.
Oh,
Like I was like, how did London figure this out? Like to have little villages,
yeah.
around. I don't know. Anyway, I'm very enamored right now, and I really want to live there, and I think that's what's gonna happen next.
Yeah. And you should do that. My wife loves London, and I could have gone to London with her because she would go for work.
Yeah.
And I could have gone one time, but I was waiting for I was on hold for something that fell through like the day she flew out. The day she flew out. So I could have gone and enjoyed London, but it is what it is. One day. One day.
London is there, my friend.
Yeah.
To be enjoyed. It's still there. So 2022 or whenever we can freaking get out of we go out of there. I just got really hungry. Just a heads up.
Oh yeah, no, I'm getting there myself. So the other thing that I was going to ask you, so you started creating like your show, and you have like you've been writing the show, and word gets around. How many messages did you get? Like, hey, if there's a part for me, if there's something for me, like, do you get a lot of people asking for like, like, hey, hook it up for a part? Like, I've always wondered that. Like, I mean, and if you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
I mean, I'm still getting, we start this conversation like that right now. Like, or were we recording already? Like, where's my part or whatever? It was a joke that you said. Yeah, it happens every day, even now, and with no show.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do about that. Like, because right now, nothing.
Yeah.
Right now, I have no show. Right now, I went to London to write a pilot, right? Yes. I haven't even put it to a network or a streamer. So, like, I have nothing. But people think I do. I want to get something, so I'm planning, but it's really stressful when people see your name and deadline and stuff and see your name and report, and they think it's like, and I don't have shit yet. I mean, that's not true. That's like a bad way to put it. What I'm saying is like, I don't have, they canceled my show, Vida.
Yeah.
That's where I could have some power to like hire people. But even then it was like, whatever parts, it's not like I'm going to write you a part, it's like whatever
just write someone in.
Yeah. Well, I did write two people in, two Texans in. I wrote Roberta Colindres without like, we got her before the part was written. I was like, please, Roberta will play Nico and Mr. Castillo. I was like, please do it. I had to freaking beg him. It was so freaking annoying.
My favorite part that Raul has been written into just for that one thing is on Riverdale.
Oh,
Mr. Castillo. He was in there for like an episode, and it was like so unnecessary, but it's just so awesome. And yes, I'm a huge Riverdale nerd. Like I love Roberto Aguirre Sacasa is probably
my dark friend.
Yeah.
We worked together on Looking, and that's where we met Raul. Three of us. That's where the three of us met. So he had been telling me, oh my God, I want Raul to be the teacher, which is like a little part. Do you think he'll do it? I'm like, yeah. I mean, what am I hesitant? But he did. And then the same thing with Michelle, who played
the sister, Lodge. Veronica's sister. Yes, I am a Riverdale nerd.
Yeah, he was like, do you think what is your the schedule, Vida schedule? I'm like, I think it can work out. And it did. So like it's good to like have that little like community, like my other bestie is Gloria Calderon Kellett, the showrunner of One Day at a Time, no longer in the air, but like having Gloria, having Roberto, people who I work with, because I work with Gloria in Devious Maids, and then I worked with Roberto in Looking, and now they're my rocks, like we like, and it because there's not a lot of us doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's doing it at the meaning no Latina is doing it at the level of Roberto. Like that's Comic-Con level.
I've been a fan of his.
He's amazing.
Since I read a play of his
Yeah.
play, The Weird, because I'm a horror guy.
Right. Yeah.
And everything that what
Good Boys and True. Do you remember that one?
Which one?
Good Boys and True.
Yes.
It was so good. Anyway.
Yes. And then he also had The Weird, and then he also did the Dorian Gray.
Oh yeah.
And then
he did an Archie one.
Yes.
He did an Archie one that they told him to cease and desist. And then he runs Archie Comics now. It's crazy. It's so good.
And everything you can see like in Archie, like the episode names are of old horror films.
Yeah.
And he even got Tony Todd to show up for an episode, which is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite character or villain from any horror series, of Candyman. You know, like he got him to show up. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's a genius. And I love Sabrina.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, you know what? My claim to fame is that I was my name was in the first episode of the graphic novel that because he was working it while we were on Looking, and I would always talk about spells and brujeria because I'm obsessed. Yeah. And I was like, honey jars, do a honey jar spell. And he put it, if you look at that issue, he was like, he put like Saracho, a bruja, taught me how to do so it's like she's doing a honey jar spell on a boy, Sabrina. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, no, and brujeria is very interesting, because I was going to ask you about that. I might ask you off air about resources, because I've been working on stuff, writing books, mainly, not like novels. And I want to throw in those sort of elements in there. So off air, I'll ask you for some resources you can point me to. What is,
I don't know if I have resources. I just go to Brujas. I don't know if I have actual resources.
I remember.
Write about it. I think if you respect it, and if you're talking about brujeria, and if you practice it, not if you're going to learn it from a book, brujeria.
No, or from growing up down here is what I'm associating it with. I remember
Street. I don't know what it is now, but used to go to the yerberias on 17th.
Yeah. Well, now 17th is totally different.
I know. That's why I said you used to. Yeah.
It's a different world now. Yeah. Well, I mean, yes and no. It's 17th Street is a big, for me, it's a big disappointment, because it's just, there's some really cool spots there, and there's still some places that still they still love the arts there. Yeah. Like Cine El Rey, like that. Yeah. They love the arts there. They will support artists. Yeah. No matter what. I did a play there, and they'll show old movies. They'll show whatever. If you have like a good project, they will support it, which is one of the amazing things there. But there's a guy you should watch and see what 17th Street is like. There's a guy on YouTube who interviews people on 17th Street.
Oh wow!
While they're drunk, and you'll laugh. You're like, oh my gosh.
What happened to the workers? There are no more sex workers?
No.
Where did they go?
No, I was actually in a movie early on, back when I was at Pan Am, called 17th Street, the movie. And it was written by my friend Orlando. And it was about, the street workers there. And like, it was like the girls, there was a trans hooker there too, as well, a street worker. And there was one huge scene where the girls from 17th Street have their big rumble with the boys from Archer Park.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was amazing. Like a good old rumble with them. Because you know how like Archer Park was pretty famous for like politicians visiting. Local politicians.
Yeah. To go get taken care of.
Oh yeah, that and the Botanical Gardens.
Oh, I didn't
know that. On 83. Yeah, that was they had to close it down for a bit.
Oh wow.
That was the place to go hook up for boys. The Valley's changing though.
We need places to go. We need places.
Yep. And the thing is, like, the Valley's a little bit more open now. Believe it or not, a little bit more.
I do believe it. I do believe it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hard. We had to yeah. It
Mm-hmm.
was hard. Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was just what, like 10th Avenue, PBDs.
PVDs. I was about to be like PVDs
Mm-hmm.
and 10.
Yep. That
Yeah.
now, when my wife and I first started dating, we would go to theater people to Club 33, which was, the and now it's a real estate office.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was only 10 years ago, 11 years ago when that was happening. So yeah, time flies. The valley is changing. What
Yeah.
kind of projects are you wanting to work, like your dream project? Like you talked about going to London, and you
I
met
wrote
Mr. Flynn and you wrote a pilot.
a song. That project's called Love Song.
Love song.
Then I'm waiting because I just left Starz. I left
Mhm.
my contract there to go to UCP, but my property stayed there. Enfrascada
Okay.
was a play that I wrote, and that's what Brujas is going to be based on. But
Mhm.
they own it right now, so I'm waiting for it to turn. It's called Turnaround to get it back.
Yeah.
So Brujas is another project. And I'm listening to podcasts. And we have a bunch of stuff. It's called a slate when you have different projects, and they're all in the works, but I don't think I can talk about them so much.
Yeah.
But I in general, I want to do, as a producer, I want to
Mhm.
produce, not as a writer, genre stuff, like either
Mhm.
supernatural or, and YA stuff.
Mhm.
I want to produce, and then want to write like historical drama. This is all Latinx based,
Yeah.
so but that's what I'm trying to make happen right now.
That's
With
amazing. Do you know
my
Gigi Saul Guerrero?
I mean, I don't know her, but I'm a big fan. Yeah.
She's
And I
amazing.
up all the time. When we
I
discuss.
auditioned for her latest movie. I didn't get it. I was bummed,
Yeah.
but I'm still going to support the movie because I think she's an amazing voice in horror. And
Totally.
over the last maybe 5-10 years, I've realized that any horror south of because I'm a horror guy. Like I told you, like
Yeah,
this is
yeah, yeah.
what I want to do. Like, and it's crazy that I had to leave New York to actually start auditioning for horror films in Texas.
Why?
Like I don't know. There wasn't any horror for me over there in New York. But Gigi's directing movies for people that look like me.
Yeah.
People named Jorge, and people won't confuse my name and call me Jose. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's one of the things that bugged me about New York. But like, there's that beautiful movie Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Isa is
Oh, I love
unbelievable.
that movie. La Llorona was good too.
I tried to get her so much to
Really?
direct me that too. Like she's just ever since Guillermo del Toro gave her the like kind of like the anointment.
Yes.
Yeah, I love her. There's another Tejano, Alonso Gomez Rejon, brilliant.
Mhm.
That's another guy who can handle anything. Like I think I hope that in the next decade we see a lot more specificity, not just like when it comes to genre, but culturally, like that and then we have the talent to support it. So we don't have to have these Latinx themed movies directed by non-Latinx. Right now I'm super into. Sorry, I'm looking at the clock.
No, that's fine.
No stories about us without us is my motto. Like right now,
Yeah.
no stories about us without us. Like we're not in the moment. This is not the 90s where Banderas can do a Mexican, or like a white director can handle whatever big epic, or they can do like House of Spirits with a freaking bunch of Brits, like no, that's not the moment anymore. No stories about us without us.
I agree. I totally agree. I've been going through that thought process myself down here, especially talking about horror, and I've been working on like certain things, and it's just kind of like mainly in prose format, like that kind of storytelling. Just because like how many Latina authors, horror authors do you know?
Yeah, I
Can you
don't, but
name
they're
some?
out there.
Yeah,
Like,
there's some out there.
Yeah,
And
no, but we just don't have access to them.
no, yeah,
Like why? Yeah, I mean, right now I know everyone bid on Mexican Gothic. Did you read it?
I did.
Yeah, me too. I read part of it, but everyone bid on it because it was such a wait, what? We don't know what this is.
It's about British people in Mexico.
In Mexico. Well, the lead girls
The
are
lead
Mexican.
was Mexico, But yeah, it's just like still
Yeah.
though, it's like kind of like of all the people down there, it's
Yeah.
just
That's a smart author though, who's trying to do
yes,
a crossover thing, you
yep,
know?
yeah, no, I have to agree with you on that. I do. That is smart. It's safe too. It's something that would get greenlit, I
Yeah.
would think.
It did. They got bought. It got, yeah, it's like it's gonna happen. Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
see that New York Times story about the woman who hunted down all the cartel members who like either kidnapped
Yeah.
her daughter?
That one came through got pitched. Yeah, but she died. So
Yeah,
it's not like
it was
she's,
sold within a week.
no, I know. I know. It
That's
was
crazy.
uh, I know. I just hope they don't turn it into trauma porn, you know. It's so, because she died. If she would have
Yeah.
lived, then that's
Hmm.
like, oh, it's Erin Brockovich.
Hmm.
But died and nothing has been fixed, and femicide is such a real thing, and her daughter never like, so that I'm like, I just hope whoever got it,
Blumhouse.
the Trump, yeah, but like whatever
Yeah.
whatever writer
Yes.
gets it, doesn't turn it into trauma porn.
Yeah. Because with
Yeah,
Blumhouse, it's a flip of a coin sometimes because they could be, you know,
that's right.
very.
Has her overall, right?
Mhm.
Gigi has
Yes,
an
and
overall.
that's who I'm hoping will
Yeah. Oh,
take it
they're doing,
over.
one of my besties, Jennifer Gomez, is doing The Infiltrators, which is not like Blumhouse at all.
Yeah.
It's
No.
no, so she's building it with Blumhouse, and it's about immigration and super deep. Like, so they're doing a bunch of stuff. They just started following me on Instagram, and I got so like, Blumhouse is following.
Ah,
And I got,
you,
what?
you know that's who I want to work with. I want to do a
Then
movie with
manifest
Blumhouse.
brujeria,
Mhm.
and you can make it manifest. Look, this is the guy. Well, I won't show. Is this? Are you gonna show this, or is
Yeah,
this?
it's gonna be on YouTube.
Well, this is my vision board, and that I got who I want to be on my show right there, and I just keep it there. And
Yeah.
when I'm writing, I'm like, I'm just manifesting it, I'm manifesting and stuff. I might have to go.
Okay. No, I really do appreciate you, taking the time out to
Ay,
talk to
fun.
little old me here in South Texas.
De los ojos. Will you please go have some pato?
Yeah, yeah. In a few
It's
weeks, I'm
family tradition, el
El
pato.
Pato. You
Por
know,
el pato. I know the whole thing. Anyway, it was lovely talking to you.
absolutely. Yeah.
And the 3 people that listened to you got a little something out of it.
Yeah, they did. I got a lot. I truly I've been wanting to speak to you on here or just in general
Yeah.
for a long time because you are an inspiration to me and to several other people. Like I am that little boy from McAllen who never thought that anything that I've done, like some of the TV stuff that I've done and even like when I did Going in Style, I never thought that I would be in the same scene with Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine.
Sure.
And you are doing it in a much bigger level. Like you've like, I think I've told you this before, is that you are an inspiration to a lot of people and you're paving the way for little kids. I have a daughter, you know what I mean? And like little girls, as you're giving little girls from down here something to look up to, and it's just, yeah.
But we'll do it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. You're gonna have a great year. Much luck to your shows, and congratulations on your shows.
Thank you so much.
It's only the beginning, really and truly. Like you are a trendsetter, and you're paving the way for much bigger things coming up the pike for us down here in like the place that Texas forgets a lot of time.
But yeah, there's a lot of talent there. Just like
a ton.
Yeah.
A ton.
No, pero like, yeah, no pare, sigue. No pare, sigue. That's the motto for all of us. Like, and don't catch the Rona. Those are the 2 mottos to leave with. Don't catch the Rona.
Our doors are closed.
So, fuck Abbott. Wear your mask out there.
No, we're maskers. Yeah. We have to. And my wife is pregnant and she can't get that. And it's crazy. And plus the time that I get the Rona is probably going to be when I finally book something again. And
don't push yourself like that. Don't do it.
Yeah, no. Yeah. But can we find you anywhere on social media?
Everything Tanya Saracho. So Tanya Saracho Twitter, Tanya Saracho Instagram, lo que sea, Tanya Saracho. Super easy.
Amazing.
Con
And
ese.
yeah, and everybody, you can always follow the podcast on Instagram at Jorge's Isolation Podcast or on the YouTube channel under Jorge Chapa. It's my channel. Thank you, everybody, all 3 to 5 of you that have been listening and watching and probably just leaving YouTube on repeat so I can get a couple of views. Thank you so much. I appreciate every one of you. Everyone stay safe and take care of one another. Have a good one. Thank you, Tanya. It's been great.
Thank you.